Developing right now on Morning News Now, a dangerous deluge in the deep south. This morning, millions of people bracing for heavy rain and flash flooding from the remnants of a tropical storm. And in the Midwest, reports of several tornadoes ripping through entire neighborhoods. And the threat is far from over. We are tracking the conditions, the warnings, and what you can expect where you live. Also developing a not-so-done deal right now. President Trump heading back to Washington from a whirlwind G7 summit in France after he and Iran's president signed an initial agreement to end the war.
Oh, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding. If they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay?
We'll break down the deal, plus reaction and what happens next. Also, a shocking twist in the case against Luigi Mangione that could impact his murder trial. Meanwhile, an emotional sentencing as convicted serial killer Rex Heuermann learned his fate in front of his victims' families. We'll bring you an update. And Forever Home, new data shows the idea of the so-called starter home no longer exists. What first-time buyers can expect. Conversation with an expert a little bit later.
Exactly. Anyone who's been trying to find a home knows what this is, but when you see the numbers, it is staggering. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers, and it's great to have you start your day with us. We're going to begin this hour with the severe weather that is putting large parts of the country on high alert this morning. Strong storms have millions of people across the U.S. at risk of high winds, heavy rain, and dangerous flooding. Starting yesterday, there were reports of at least 8 tornadoes that touched down, stretching from Indiana to Alabama, and thousands are without power as damage reports continue to come in.
The National Weather Service is warning that heavy rainfall and life-threatening flash floods could continue across the southeast. Those states have already been pounded this week with heavy rain. Along the Gulf Coast, Arthur became the first named storm system of the hurricane season. It did weaken from its tropical storm status overnight, but the ongoing deluge of wet weather is expected to continue today. The National Hurricane Center said last night that parts of Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana could get hit with as much as 20 inches of rain. Here in New York, Knicks fans are getting ready for their championship parade, but a warning, more than 60 million will be watching out for the slight risk of severe thunderstorms from the mid-Atlantic states into New England. We'll get to your full forecast in just a moment with NBC Chicago meteorologist Aisha Scott. First, though, let's get to NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa in Illinois with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey there, good morning. We just arrived on scene, and obviously you can see the strength of these storms overnight on full display here. This auto garage, car garage, is literally in pieces. I mean, this looks like a bomb went off. You can see this full wall flipped on its side over here with like some kind of steel beams fully exposed. It's insane. Overnight, at least 7 twisters reported across Illinois, Wisconsin, even as far south as Alabama, all part of a sprawling severe weather system that flooded roads outside Chicago. The effects were widespread. This morning, a daunting cleanup is obviously underway with another example, the roof ripped off an Illinois elementary school. We also saw massive trees toppled onto cars and homes. Meanwhile, in more severe weather news, on both coasts, wildfires are raging. Doorbell camera video shows flames just feet from a home in eastern Washington where multiple homes have been destroyed, thousands of people have been evacuated, and there are more wildfires burning in Florida, closing roads around Miami. Meanwhile, obviously, back here in the Midwest, again, cleanup just beginning. And clearly, guys, they have a long road ahead. Back to you.
No kidding, Maggie. Thank you so much.
Well, for more on all that severe weather and also your New York Knicks parade forecast, let's bring in meteorologist Aisha Scott from NBC Chicago.
Hey, Aisha, good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. You know, the remnants of Arthur is producing some heavy rainfall and even some severe storms across parts of the Gulf Coast states. So notice here, we've got severe storms and even tornado warnings pushing in and around New Orleans. So that heavy rain continues to spread even into Mississippi and Alabama. There was a tornado watch that actually expired at 6 a.m. Notice here, the storm system continues to move inland. So these remnants will bring heavy rainfall across parts of Alabama, even into Georgia. We're talking severe flooding as well as it interacts with the cold front moving in from the north. And then eventually it moves off to the east tomorrow. So we've got scattered storms continuing from Texas to Florida, even a moderate risk for flooding for South Alabama and also Mississippi. Speaking of, you can see the flash flood risk for today. This is a rare high risk. That includes Mobile, also Pensacola for life-threatening flash flooding. They're under a high risk for flash flooding. So please heed any of those warnings. Notice the rainfall forecast. This takes us through Saturday. The bullseye here, southern Mississippi into Alabama, even parts of Georgia. We could see rainfall totals up to a foot, and some isolated spots could pick up as much as 20 inches of rainfall. Now, let's talk about farther to the north. So as we head northward, the same cold front that brought the severe weather across parts of the Midwest, it's now headed off to the east. So we've got severe storms pushing into parts of West Virginia, starting to move into northern Virginia and also Pennsylvania. We've got that tornado watch that continues until 10 a.m. Eastern time. So this cold front will continue to move off to the northeast. So if you're along the northeast coast, we've got the chance for storms as well, even as we push into the mid-Atlantic. But the good news is there is a low risk for tornadoes. The severe threat as we head through the evening, it's a slight risk from Burlington to Norfolk, even parts of Nashville, getting close to Nashville. The main impact will be those damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, damaging hail right around 1 inch. And the tornado threat, again, is low. So an isolated tornado can't be ruled out. And as we mentioned, the Knicks parade, this is going to be a fun one. Partly sunny skies. It's windy. It's humid. Look at these temperatures, mid-80s. The heat index close to 90. But there is a chance for an isolated shower or storm. Back to you guys.
I don't think anyone could rain on that parade, though.
No
All right,
kidding.
Aisha, thank you so much. President Trump returned to the White House overnight, wrapping up his trip to Europe for the G7 summit. Mr. Trump and the president of Iran both digitally signed a 14-point memorandum of understanding. It lays out the terms for ending the war, which has gone on now for nearly 4 months.
But the agreement raises many more questions, really, than it gives answers. A formal signing ceremony is still expected to be held tomorrow in Switzerland.
NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us from Tel Aviv with more details. Matt, good morning. A lot to unpack with this agreement. President Trump announced the deal days ago, but details not made public until just yesterday. Some of the terms, lifting sanctions on Iran and unfreezing assets. Just walk us through the highlights here.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned the first two big ones, and those have emerged as really controversial issues. I would add to that a third big boon for the Iranians, that they will be immediately able to sell oil on the international market, and the Trump administration is basically guaranteeing that. All of this in return for basically Iran reiterating once again that they will not pursue a nuclear weapon, something they've been saying for decades, so that was easy for them to accede to. And then also simply stopping the fighting. So we're talking about a deal that presents enormous financial incentives for Iran right up front, while offering or asking for very, very little in return. That's why for many, especially here in Israel, this whole deal looks like a massive capitulation. It's put Donald Trump very much on the defensive. Here's what he said yesterday.
If they don't honor the agreement, or some things aren't even mentioned in the agreement, it's a memorandum of understanding, but we have an understanding of certain things without writing it. And if they don't honor that, we'll probably go back to bombing them until they honor it. You know, it's amazing what bombs can do.
So the president once again saying that if they don't honor, well, not necessarily the terms of the deal, but whatever the president happens to want at any given time, he will go back to bombing. And surely then they'll capitulate. However, the recent history has shown that Iran is able to hold its own, even amidst Israeli and American joint bombing, and still present a hard line in negotiations. Guys?
Matt, back to that major sticking point, the Iran's nuclear capabilities, which you mentioned. What do we know about how detailed that part of the agreement is or will be?
Well, that's really the shocking thing about the entire agreement, not just when it comes to the nuclear thing, not just when it comes to these financial incentives or peace in Lebanon, all of it. Almost every single one, except for the immediate cessation of hostilities that will include Lebanon, almost all of it kicks all of these issues down the line to that 60-day set of negotiations that presumably is going to start as early as tomorrow, right around the day and in the same place in Geneva of this signing ceremony. So we're going to actually start to see the wheels turn on a more permanent ceasefire deal. Problem is, when the Obama administration did their JCPOA back in 2015, it was years of negotiations that led up to that. a deal that the Trump administration said was very, very inadequate, and that President Trump once again has been taking grave exception to any comparison between this deal, which hasn't been devised, and the one that Obama signed in 2015 and that the Trump administration ripped up in 2018 during his first term.
Matt, you mentioned that formal ceremony taking place tomorrow in Switzerland. We know Vice President Vance is expected to take part in it. This deal does have the backing of G7 leaders, and many of them are interested in this next question. When could we see progress when it comes to getting the Strait of Hormuz reopened?
Well, this is all contingent upon the behavior of both countries involved. The Iranians have demanded that the U.S. gradually withdraw all of its forces in the vicinity of Iran. It's hard to know whether that includes those American air bases near Iran in some of the Gulf states that Iran has retaliated against. But, you know, it's also essentially, as I mentioned, that 60-day period. There's a shorter 30-day period when the Gulf of Hormuz is supposed to open immediately. When we're talking about immediate action and something like that, it really is going to take a couple of weeks. The agreement allows for that. But once it happens, it's going to be hard to go back on that. That is the last leverage that either of these two groups have. So it's unclear whether once everything returns to normal in the Strait of Hormuz, whether there'll be any impetus behind the parties to continue negotiating toward a more permanent ceasefire.
All right, Matt Bradley in Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you.
We have NBC News White House reporter Catherine Doyle joining us now with more reaction to this memorandum in Washington. Catherine, good morning. So, I mean, Matt really just laid this out, but President Trump framing this deal as this victory for the U.S., but there really are a lot of details, a lot of President Trump's own stated goals in starting the war not here, and like ensuring Iran's enriched uranium is removed. How's D.C. taking this? How are lawmakers on both sides of the aisle responding to this tentative deal?
That's right. And yes, good morning, Savannah. President Trump now is returning to Washington, where he's going to have to sell the deal to skeptical members of his party and skeptical lawmakers in other parties. One of his top allies on the Hill, Lindsey Graham, has already expressed some cautious optimism, however, which is helpful for the president. He said he praised the, quote, lengthy and productive parts of the discussion and said that he had a good conversation with one of the president's top negotiators on the deal. He also praised the end of the hostilities, and he praised the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and said that this would be helpful. One thing he said that one thing that he left open, though, was that he, quote, wanted to see a verifiable deal on the nuclear aspect of things. But he said that there was little downside in trying. And Dems, however, have been a little bit more skeptical. Let's see what they had to say.
This will be regarded as one of the biggest American disasters. And it's because Trump started this war. He didn't know how to finish it.
I think people will look back and say this war of choice was a disaster, and America's less strong today than we were before the war started.
The president wanted unconditional surrender, and this deal looks like unconditional surrender by the United States, not by Iran. It is disgraceful.
The administration's position is that the memorandum is just a framework, and everything will be addressed in the remaining questions about the nuclear program will be addressed in a final agreement that's set to be negotiated over the next 60 days.
Catherine, as we mentioned, Vice President Vance was really the lead negotiator for the U.S. on this pact, even though initially, I mean, he was one of the most hesitant of the president's advisors to go to war. Is he the one now tasked with trying to sell this deal to the public?
That's right. The vice president has really been out front as a skeptic of foreign wars, and he's embraced the role here in ending this one. He's recorded several videos. He's done interviews over the last several days, praising the deal, praising the agreement, and saying that he planned and touting the positive aspects of the deal as well. He said that. The president himself, however, left open the possibility that the deal could collapse. And he joked yesterday when he was in Geneva that if it didn't go well, that he would blame J.D. Vance for that aspect of it, and warning that he could restart attacks at the same time. He said, quote, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. And if it falls apart, I'm blaming J.D. Vance. Now, J.D. Vance will be headed to Geneva, where he's set to begin negotiations with a 60-day clock beginning on the final talks to figure out what they'll be doing with the nuclear agreement.
All right, Catherine, thanks so much for joining us.
Let's bring in Elise Labott now. She is the host of Cosmopolitics on Substack. Elise, always good to have you with us, especially on a big news morning like this. Let's talk about Iran's end of this agreement. Simply put, what did Iran give up to get this deal?
Well, guys, this is really a framework deal to negotiate the nuclear program. But really what it is a deal to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran is giving, like a pinky swear that it will discuss the nuclear issues. But I think once, as Matt said, I think once they start talking about these nuclear negotiations, Iran is famous for dragging them on. And as the U.S. military starts to withdraw from the area, I can't imagine, it's very expensive and drains on the U.S. military to stay out there if the war is technically over. So once U.S. military withdraws from the area, it'll be really hard if the Iranians don't make good on some of these promises to restart the war. So I think Iran is in a pretty good spot right now. It's opening up the Strait of Hormuz, which it needs to end that blockade and start to get some of this economic relief.
The reopening of the Strait of Hormuz obviously has been this huge sticking point in negotiations. What we know so far in this memorandum, it says the blockade will formally end within 30 days. But what else did the U.S. achieve with this agreement?
It ended the war, it ended the conflict. I mean, I think what everybody is kind of saying is, the deal is very heavily tilted in Iran's favor. I mean, it does get a lot of things. Look, Iran was in a weaker position than, it was before the war, only because a lot of its military was destroyed. The U.S. military did do a very good job, and it was suffering economically. But politically, it's in a much stronger position right now because now it realized that it could start using the Strait of Hormuz. So Iran's not really giving much, and the U.S. is giving up a lot here. And Vice President Vance said something very revealing a few days ago in an interview. He said, listen, this will open up the Strait of Hormuz. And if the nuclear negotiations don't go forward, at least we've ended the war and everyone can get on with their lives. So it really shows, guys, that this administration, President Trump, really wanted to end the war. And, this document, reading through it, really reflects that. I mean, just look at some of the Easter eggs that are in there, that Iran can downlead some of that uranium enrichment with minimum methodology. I don't even know what that means, but it's really all in how Iran kind of sees it. The way I read the document is really from an Iranian point of view.
Elise, it's important to point out, Israel is not a direct party to this U.S.-Iran agreement. Iran said earlier this week Israel must withdraw its forces from Lebanon. We've seen President Trump acknowledging that rift is something the administration is working on. We think of the fact that when this started nearly 4 months ago, the U.S. and Israel were pretty much in lockstep, and now here we are. Do you see this agreement as something that's like a rebuke of Prime Minister Netanyahu by President Trump?
Well, if you listen to him over the last few days, they're kind of blaming Israel for the reason this is dragging on. The Israelis are like, look, we're not really party to this deal, and we're going to continue to undertake operations in Lebanon as we see fit. At the same time, the U.S. is kind of mediating these talks between Israel and Lebanon, which is a good effort. I don't know if it'll lead anywhere, but in order for all that to work, you have to help the Lebanese government and the Lebanese armed forces deal with Lebanon. They don't really seem to have a mechanism for that yet. And I have been talking to Israeli officials, and you've heard what's coming out from the region. I don't really think Israel feels that, it has to deal with President Trump, but the way that both sides are talking, it's clearly not going very well. So Israel could be a spoiler right now. But again, I really think that the U.S. needed to get this agreement. And it could go, guys, like the way of the Ukraine negotiations, the Gaza peace deal and the Board of Peace kind of ending midstream, and the negotiations technically don't end, but they're not ongoing. So I don't really see a major change to Iran's nuclear program. They did do some damage both last June and in this latest war, but I don't see these nuclear negotiations leading to an end to the nuclear program, which President Trump has been talking about. And certainly not in 60 days. I mean, as we've been discussing, that JCPOA that the Obama administration negotiated took 2 years.
Elise Labott, good to have you with us. Thank you.
Well, the Federal Reserve announced it's keeping interest rates unchanged as new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh presided over his first meeting as leader of the central bank. Rates were expected to remain the same as Warsh begins his 4-year tenure at the Fed. Well, during his news conference after the announcement, Warsh acknowledged that persistently high prices are a burden for the American people, and he pledged to deliver price stability. Projections by the Fed show it likely expects a rate hike of 0.25% sometime this year. It also expects inflation to remain elevated through next year.
We have surprising new developments in the case against Luigi Mangione, the accused healthcare CEO killer. A judge yesterday revealed the defense team will pursue a psychiatric defense because of, quote, extreme emotional disturbance. It's a strategy legal experts say effectively concedes Mangione pulled the trigger. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk reports.
A bombshell in New York State court. The judge in the case announcing that Luigi Mangione's defense team is changing course, legally conceding their client did kill United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan.
It's no longer a whodunit. It's no longer did Luigi Mangione kill Brian Thompson. It's he killed him.
But the defense will argue Mangione was suffering from extreme emotional disturbance and deserves a lesser charge than murder in the second degree.
If he's successful with this defense, it could be significantly reduced to manslaughter, which means 5 to 25 years as opposed to the potential of life.
The judge ordered all relevant documents handed over to the prosecution. The DA's office has the chance to order its own psychological evaluation of Mangione. The trial, less than 3 months away, will now look very different. Forensics and the murder weapon may not be the focus. Instead, it will likely be on the Ivy League grad's mental health and the alleged planning leading up to the shooting. Evidence like the red notebook found on him when he was arrested in a Pennsylvania McDonald's, possibly playing an even more significant role. One entry written months before the killing reads, "I finally feel confident about what I will do. The details are finally coming together." Prosecutors accuse Mangione of meticulously plotting the crime, which could make a psychiatric defense a significant challenge.
When you raise an affirmative defense like this, the defense actually has to show that Luigi Mangione acted with extreme emotional disturbance, that he lost self-control.
The defense has legally conceded that their client killed Brian Thompson, so that could also affect the federal trial. But in federal court, they cannot make the same kind of psychiatric defense. So they're going to have to come up with another strategy for that trial. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thank you. For more on what this new defense could mean for this case, we're going to bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris. Good to have you here. We just saw you in Steph's piece there. You explained this doesn't obviously let Luigi Mangione off the hook. So what does change here? Why do you think his team is going with this strategy?
Yeah, so this is a mitigation defense. So it will just downgrade from what would be a second-degree murder to a manslaughter if it's successful. And I think the timing of this is really interesting because they filed a notice of intent to raise the psychiatric defense a while back, but they asked for more time in order to move forward with actually doing it. And I think one of the reasons is because in the middle, what happened? Well, they had that huge evidentiary hearing and decision about what from Luigi Mangione's backpack, what statements were actually going to come in. So strategically, this comes on the heels of the defense having to grapple with the gun is coming in, the manifesto is coming in. And so this seems to be a pivot on that strategy, given it's really not going to be a great argument to say it wasn't him.
This isn't really an easy defense win. I mean, what does the defense have to prove? How high is the legal bar?
So this is a really, really challenging defense because when the defense takes this on, they actually have the burden to prove something, where normally it's up to prosecutors. So they have to show that Luigi Mangione was in extreme emotional distress. There's some kind of triggering event that happens that causes him to lose control. And then they have to explain what happened, why that's reasonable in the eyes of the jurors will make that determination. So in his mind, he was under extreme emotional disturbance and that it was reasonable given the circumstances that the defense will lay out. When you see this defense, though, you usually see an act happen close in time because one of the standards is there's no time to regain control. So the timeline here is going to be a real challenge. Remember, he travels from Georgia to New York, and then he's in New York for multiple days. So that's going to be something the defense will have to overcome, and we'll see how they'll do that as more evidence comes to light.
We still have a ways to go here, but if in the end the jury does accept this argument here, how does that potentially change the sentence?
Well, so life is off the table if they accept this, and you have a range of 5 to 25 years. So it's a significant reduction in his potential time behind bars if this defense succeeds.
Looking ahead to the September trial, what are the biggest sort of hurdles that you see and what we'll see along the way on this timeline?
So this timeline is going to be critical, and I'm talking about from whenever the defense is going to lay out what happened, what the judge said, what is the malady that caused extreme emotional distress leading up to that day that Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione, has now conceded that he pulled the trigger and killed him. That timeline and his state of mind, this is going to be such an expert-heavy case. You're going to see all sorts of medical experts, forensic psychologists, investigation, what Luigi Mangione's life looked like during that time period. And we'll see how the defense intends to link that to something that happened months and months later. And prosecutors are going to say, listen, this was something well-planned, well thought out, and you can read that in that manifesto.
It really changes what this trial is going to look like.
It changes the trial tremendously.
All right, Mr. Maris, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Well, in a Long Island courtroom yesterday, serial killer Rex Heuermann was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison for the murders of 8 women. After emotional statements from the victims' families, the judge called Heuermann a disgusting, despicable coward before ordering him to serve consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has more.
The Gilgo Beach serial killer coming face to face with his victims' families.
I'm responsible for what was said in this room today. The words I would say have no meaning.
Rex Heuermann was sentenced in New York to multiple life terms without the possibility of parole after admitting to soliciting sex and strangling 8 women to death between 1993 and 2010.
At least 8 that we know of. Are you at least a little bit sorry for that? Yes? Yes, I am.
The victims' loved ones in the courtroom.
And that pain is unbearable.
And confronting the hulking New York City architect who lived a double life through tears.
Rex Heuermann did not just take my mother's life. He stole an entire lifetime of memories that me and her never got to make.
Today would have been Jessica Taylor's 43rd birthday.
You thought you took her voice, but you didn't know that she had people who loved her. You hunted her, and I hunted you.
Heuermann's sentence marks the final chapter in a killing spree that terrorized Long Island, New York for decades. Investigators arresting him in 2023, using cell phone data and DNA from a discarded pizza crust to help link him to the murders that he now will sit behind bars for.
You've been described as a very big man, but you're a disgusting and despicable small man, if you're a man at all. And you're a coward. Get him out.
There are still some unsolved killings near Gilgo Beach, which the district attorney vows to continue to investigate. Back to you.
All right, Emily, thank you.
Federal investigators are working around the clock to figure out what caused a deadly private plane crash in Texas. We're also learning more about the people who were on that plane when it crashed Tuesday night and the Good Samaritans who pulled survivors out of the debris. Police are calling them heroes. Here's NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello.
Oh, my God.
Terror on Loop 20 in Laredo, Texas. A private business jet crashing into traffic and erupting in fire after failing to make it to a nearby airport.
They're trying to get people out. There's people in there.
Dashcam video captured the moment of impact. The plane, torn in two by a light pole, suddenly ignites. Inside the plane, 6 people.
We literally saw a aircraft, split in half. So we're like, oh my God, this is crazy, out of a movie.
Zaira Garza's husband was among the drivers who used hammers and crowbars to break one pilot free, then another. 3 teenagers got out on their own.
3 kids, 2 pilots. Where's the parents? They're still in there?
The only fatality, 50-year-old Joshua Baer, the founder of Austin-based Capital Factory, which funds high-tech startups. The company calling him brilliant and a dear friend to so many of us. The Cessna Citation departed San Jose del Cabo, Mexico, bound for Austin, climbing to 43,000 feet before reporting they were low on fuel, diverting to Laredo. Flight Radar 24 data shows the plane rapidly descending at 3,000 feet per minute before slowing its descent to line up for a landing, but then drifting off course. The last radar contact 2 miles south of the airport.
It is nothing short of a miracle that this tragedy did not become a mass fatality event.
This jet was owned by a company called NetJets, which leases jets for private flights, the biggest in the world. This is the first fatal crash for that company in 40 years. It's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And the company is saying that safety is and always has been at the foundation of everything it does, and it is working with investigators who will be interviewing the pilots on whether they ran low on fuel, and if so, what could have possibly caused that. Back to you.
Tom Costello, thank you. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a grand opening ceremony fit for a president. We'll take you to Chicago, where the new Obama Presidential Center is set for a star-studded unveiling today.
But up first, after the break, developing news, Ukraine launching its largest attack on Russia in years. We'll be right back.
We're back with some major developments this morning on the war in Ukraine.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. According to TASS, the Russian state-run news agency, overnight Ukraine launched the biggest drone attack on Moscow in over 2 years. Now, Russia's defense ministry says its air defenses intercepted 555 Ukrainian drones, including almost 200 bound for the Russian capital. The attack damaged a key oil refinery and sent debris raining down across the region, causing damage and fires. Let's go to Afghanistan now, where, according to the British newspaper The Guardian, the Taliban have issued a ban on the use of mobile phones by government officials, including high-ranking generals. The ban is believed to be part of a wider restriction on mobile phones across the country in an increasing effort by the Taliban to prevent internet access in Afghanistan. And let's end this tour of the world in the UK, where archaeologists say they discovered what they believe could be a prototype of Stonehenge. The structure, found about 3 miles from the 5,000-year-old monument, consisted of 2 wooden poles placed almost about 400 feet apart, aligned to point directly at the rising sun during the summer solstice and the setting sun at the winter solstice, just as it happens at Stonehenge. Now, the findings were released just on time for this year's summer solstice, which is expected to take place, well, it will take place on Sunday, guys.
That hasn't changed. That stays the same.
Funny.
Right. Claudia, thank you so much.
Cool. Wow, thank you. All right, the city of Chicago is getting ready to celebrate former President Barack Obama today. The Obama Presidential Center is set to be unveiled on Chicago's South Side with a grand opening ceremony.
A lineup of A-list stars set to perform, with many more planning to attend. It marks a new chapter for the 44th president and his wife, First Lady Michelle Obama, nearly 10 years after leaving the White House. The center is opening in the neighborhood that shaped them.
NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster joins us now from Chicago with a look here. Shaq, good morning. So the center is going to be open to the public tomorrow, but today there's this big celebration plan. There's a lineup of dignitaries, A-list stars. Who made the list?
Well, first, I made the list, so I think we should start there. But with all seriousness, we haven't had a presidential dedication like this in more than a decade. So you'll expect to see the former presidents here. Former President Bush. We know that former President Clinton was actually dining with the Obamas yesterday, according to some eagle-eyed observers who saw them at a restaurant last night. But then there's the star-studded lineup that you have of performers. You see them on screen right there. Bruce Springsteen, Common, Jennifer Hudson, John Legend, Stevie Wonder, so many people that you can mention that will be performing. You know, the Obama Center said that they want this to be a generational event. They are bringing in the star power to make that happen. I should also note that we will not see current President Donald Trump. He did not get an invitation to today's dedication.
So beyond the event, inside that big tower is the museum. Can you walk us through just some of the most notable exhibits that'll be there?
Yeah, I think the more popular exhibits is that replica, full-scale replica of the Oval Office. I was inside, and you can actually sit in the chair, take pictures. They encourage that to the visitors during some of the previewing that has been taking place over the past couple of weeks. There's also an exhibit featuring former First Lady Michelle Obama's dresses, that inauguration dress, the election night dress. Another big popular thing, exhibit that you've seen in that museum. But there are about 4 levels of exhibits, and it starts with kind of a look of the movements that led to the Obama campaign and that made the presidency possible. You go through the civil rights movement, women's suffrage, you go up to higher floors. There's the focus on the campaign and then the presidency and some key policy items that notably are being reversed in many instances by the current administration. But, Obama Presidential Center is saying that they don't want this to be seen as something that's just about the history, but all throughout the exhibit, there's moments and interaction where it encourages visitors to put themselves in their place and say, what impact can you make from what they're learning inside?
Yeah, Shaq, tell us. I mean, I know just what you're saying. Like, the center has stressed that this whole thing is supposed to be a space for the community, not like just a museum. So what are some of the interactive experiences available?
Yeah, and you get a sense of that when you look outside of that tower, the grounds. This is on a 19.3-acre campus. There's a playground. There's sledding hills. There's a basketball court, recording studio. I mean, a list of things that are accessible to members of the community. And that park is open to members of the public. That's not requiring a ticket. I spoke to Obama Foundation CEO Valerie Jarrett about the focus on this and specifically asking her what makes this presidential center different. Listen to what she told me.
First of all, it's on the south side of Chicago. This is the first presidential center that's been in an urban environment. The Obamas, this was home for them, and so to put it right here in the heart of the south side, a part of the city that has suffered from disinvestment, sends such an important message about what this community means to us.
Guys, this has been long in the making. It faced many setbacks, legal challenges that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, even some concerns about the trees that were taken down in order to allow this to happen. But it is finally opening, and I spoke to some of those opponents, people who were part of the legal fights in the past. They say they understand they lost that battle, but even some of the people who are part of those lawsuits saying that they're hoping for the success of this center and hoping that it is that draw that the Obamas want it to be.
Shaq, our household, like so many, likes to visit what have always been known as presidential libraries. That's what we've always called them. This is not called that. This is a presidential center. Help us understand that distinction there.
Yeah, and if you notice any hesitation during my reporting, it's because I've been trying to avoid that L word, because you normally call these events the opening of a presidential library. The key distinction here is that in the past, the function, the practical purpose of presidential libraries have been to hold those records that are required to be held. It's a place to store all of them. Well, for President Obama, many of those records were digitized. They're digital records, they're emails, text messages, those kind of things. So about 95% of his official records are digitized. They're being held and stored in servers in Maryland. Some of the documents are in the process of being digitized. So those records are not being held at this presidential center. So while you have the museum, while you have even a public library that people can come to, part of the Chicago public library system, it is not an official presidential library in that historical sense, in the practical sense that it's been used in the past.
The presidential libraries are now in the cloud. That's, I guess, how we can sum it up.
Exactly.
All right, Jack, thank you so much. Great to see you. Enjoy that event.
All right, coming up, it is tea time for some of the world's top golfers.
That's right, the U.S. Open set to start this morning. We'll have all the excitement and the players to watch next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. The 4th of July may be a couple weeks out, but another summer mainstay starts this morning. It's when the top golfers in the world tee off for the 126th U.S. Open.
This year, the third major on the men's pro golf circuit returns to Shinnecock Hills, a historic course on Long Island that was one of the founding members of the U.S. Golf Association.
For more, let's welcome to the show staff writer for The Athletic covering golf, Gabby Herzig. Gabby, good morning. Thanks very much for being with us on this exciting sports morning. So let's start with what could be this historic achievement for Scottie Scheffler, the world-ranked #1 men's player. He only needs the U.S. Open to complete a career Grand Slam. Is this year to make that dream a reality, you think?
I mean, the numbers don't lie. I think Scottie Scheffler is unquestionably the favorite this week, as he's the world #1 player by a long shot right now. But I will say it's a little bit uncharacteristic that Scottie has not won another tournament since he won the first tournament that he played in this year back in January at the American Express. He's had a number of runner-up finishes, but you can kind of tell that the frustration is boiling over a little bit inside of Scottie. He's starting to show his emotions a little bit more on the course recently, with a few moments last week, as we saw, and the week before on the PGA Tour. So I'm really curious to see how Scottie fares this week. He's also historically a player that fares really well playing in the wind and in tough conditions, and that's exactly what we're going to see here at Shinnecock. So I will not be surprised at all to see him floating near the top of the leaderboard. It'll just be a matter of if he can get it done, chasing the career Grand Slam, which only 6 players have accomplished in the history of the game, and he would be the 7th.
One of the guys who has done that is Rory McIlroy. He's also teeing off this weekend. So who are some of the other top players this year you're keeping an eye on that could make a run at the Cup?
Yeah, there's obviously the biggest names in the sport. Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau is an interesting one to watch because he's missed the last 2 cuts in the 2 previous majors this year. And he's a little bit volatile when you get those tough wind conditions. So he's one that I'm actually very interested to see how he plays this week. And then some other top contenders, I would look to the European guys. I mean, this is a piece of property that's on the water. It very much will play like a links course, like you'll see over in Scotland or England. So I'm looking at a Tommy Fleetwood, a Justin Rose. Tommy Fleetwood actually has the tournament course record here back in 2018. He shot a 63 on Sunday and almost chased down the last champion here, Brooks Koepka. So he's one that I would really keep a close eye on.
Gabby, you've mentioned the wind a couple times. Let's talk about it. I know it was actually a big problem the last time this course hosted the U.S. Open, and that was 8 years ago. Is this just kind of like a thing that happens in the geography at this course, or what's going on there, and how could that factor in?
Yeah, it's super interesting. The piece of land sits on this giant ridge between the Peconic Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So you kind of have winds coming from all directions, and there's just nowhere to hide on the piece of property. There's one tree in play on this golf course. So there's not a lot of protection from those gusts. And then the designer of the course, William Flynn, that all the way back in 1931, he placed the holes on the property in a really intentional manner to get you to face all sorts of different wind directions from hole to hole. You know, it's very rare for you to be battling the same wind direction on multiple consecutive holes. So players always have to adjust to the new forces each time they tee it up on a new hole. It's actually super interesting how he thought about that. But it's something that can be a real problem at this golf course because it's hard to set up such a hard U.S. Open test with really fast greens and narrow fairways when you have this wind factor that you obviously can't control. So the USGA, which runs the golf tournament, has to be really careful about making it not so tricky, but tricky enough to test these players so they don't lose control of the golf course. That's kind of what happened in 2018 and infamously back in 2004 when this tournament was hosted here. Previously, players thought that the course was unplayable because their balls weren't coming to rest on the greens. And they said, how can we play a championship like this? So this week, the USGA has been open about how they're going to take a more conservative approach to the setup. And, you know, we'll see how that actually plays out.
Very interesting. Gabby Herzig, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Just looking to see if I could find that one tree.
Stay with us. Morning News Now. We'll be right back after this quick break.
We're back with a new report showing first-time home buyers are getting priced out of the market. There are now 242 U.S. cities where a starter home costs at least $1 million. This staggering number has actually tripled since the pre-pandemic era just 6 years ago.
Analysts at Zillow say the pandemic housing boom helped drive prices higher, forcing more would-be home buyers to rethink that path to home ownership. Well, the good news, home prices are beginning to level off in some parts of the country.
More on this, let's bring in Bianca D'Alessio. She is a licensed associate real estate broker at Nest Seekers International, also the CEO and founder of the Masters Division. Bianca, good to have you with us this morning. Let's start with sort of the basics here. What actually counts these days as a starter home?
Oh, gosh, that's such a hard question because it's different in every single part of the United States. You know, in your middle America neighborhoods, you're talking about, you know, $250,000 to $500,000. And in major cities, you're $1 million to $2 million as a starter home. So it really varies based on location.
Let's talk about what drives these prices up, the why of it, and then where we're seeing those spikes.
So the biggest thing that has changed pricing right now is supply. We just don't have enough supply, and it has become so expensive to build. That's the challenge that we're having. So timelines to build are taking longer. We're not able to meet the supply and the demand that we have. And so that pricing has, yes, it's leveled off in some locations, but not in most, because we're just not able to keep up with development at the pace that we need to, that home buyers want to buy.
I think a lot of people have been saving up that down payment now for the last 5 or 6 years, and they might be wondering, like, are we at a peak? Is the worst of this affordability crisis behind us when it comes to houses, or could buyers expect to see prices stay this high?
It really depends where, but I don't think that we're going to see a major drop off in prices anywhere, just because the input costs remains very, very high. I think there was a lot of hope that when rates started to come down, we would start to feel more inventory come on the market, more inventory coming on the market, meant prices were coming down. Truly, I just don't see it. I think that we need to change a little bit of the psychology of how we're thinking about home buying and what that looks like for most Americans. It's a really difficult conversation to have, but what I would love to see more of is more development.
For someone who feels like buying a home, they just feel like it's out of reach right now, what's the advice that you'd give them?
Be patient, save, work on your finances and your credit. If you're able to look outside of your geographic location, please start to do that. And we're seeing a lot now of parents buying with children and living in the same household. So when all of a sudden you start multiplying the income that live in a household, your affordability changes. So, not getting down on yourself, but thinking of creative structures for what that next chapter of life looks like.
All right. Bianca D'Alessio, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Great being here.
Coming up on Morning News Now, one South Florida neighborhood dealing with some monkey business, literally.
And I couldn't believe what I saw. Stealing our mangoes, eating right there. A monkey. This is bananas.
That is right, residents, including our friend and former NBC News correspondent, Carrie Sanders, dealing with an unusual neighborhood nuisance. That bananas story when we come back. Often we like to talk about a man in Florida, but today it's a monkey in Florida. Yes, you heard that right. A monkey with a taste for mangoes has been spotted swiping fruit from neighborhood yards.
Even the backyard of a former NBC News correspondent. Reporter Ari Adzer from NBC Miami has more on the runaway primate.
In this neighborhood, they're used to seeing manatees, dolphins, iguanas, raccoons. Monkeys, not so much. And this is where the case of the missing mangoes started. Our former NBC colleague, Carrie Sanders, noticed he had some bare branches. He tried to peel back that mystery, and it didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure it out. The thief isn't even trying to hide. It's just monkey business as usual. Carrie Sanders thought it must have been an iguana munching his mangoes.
Then I came out and I couldn't believe what I saw. Stealing our mangoes, eating right there. A monkey. This is bananas.
You could say the neighborhood is going ape. How cool is it to see a monkey in your backyard?
Very cool.
6-year-old Maya Saib said the unexpected guest, a vervet monkey, freaked her out a little when she took a banana right from her hand.
Because it's very cool and I've never done that in my whole life world, and that was the craziest thing I ever done.
I love these. Isn't that yum? The folks at the Dania Beach Monkey Sanctuary know the wayward animal. They rehab injured monkeys here, and they say the sailboat Bend vervet visitor is a runaway from the wild colony that lives near the sanctuary and visits every day.
Her little bachelorette gallivant is what I'm calling this.
Dr. Missy Williams runs the sanctuary and says it's unheard of for females to leave the colony.
I was very surprised to see that this was a female that had left the wild population. So we're really not quite sure what sparked her to leave her social group.
She left her prime mates for the single life.
So I think the big question is it just one? Or is there more? Is there a tribe? And my fear is, if there are more, it will be monkey see, monkey do.
That guy, Chimply the best. at stealing the puns that I wanted to use myself in the story. Now, Dr. Williams says if you come across the monkey, don't feed it. That's a bad idea. Do take pictures and send them to the Gilgo Beach Monkey Sanctuary. They're trying to track this animal and entice it back to its wild colony. We're in Fort Lauderdale. Ari Odzer, NBC 6 News.
Thank you, Ari. It's good to see retirement has not changed Carrie Sanders one bit at all.
My takeaway, even with the monkey and the puns, is we miss Carrie Sanders.
We do miss Carrie.
Here.
If Carrie were covering that story, he would have a sit-down interview with the monkey. The monkey would be crying. It would be opening up about its life story, why it feels so lonely. There'd be a lot of layers to that.
I'm sorry. Monkey see, monkey do. That one. I didn't see that one coming.
All right. Good to see Ari. Good to see Carrie there. Thank you all. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, states of emergency, a dangerous deluge of wild weather battering millions across the country. The string of violent tornadoes caught on camera tearing through America's heartland. All as terrifying wildfires torch communities on both coasts. Will Mother Nature cool her jets for the first official weekend of summer? Also this morning, the real deal. First look at President Trump's highly anticipated plan to end the war with Iran. It was digitally signed overnight in the final hours of a whirlwind G7 summit. We're going to dig into the fine print of the new 14-point memorandum of understanding, including where it leaves that vital Strait of Hormuz. Plus, when gas prices might finally start to breathe a sigh of relief after months of agony at the pump. What about the hot-button issue of that $300 billion blueprint for the reconstruction of Iran? Could taxpayers be forced to foot that bill? We'll have more in a moment. Plus, steady as she goes, the Trump-tapped Federal Reserve chair leaving interest rates right where they are in his first meeting at the helm. That's despite the president's persistent pleas for a cut. But with nagging inflation still on the minds of millions, what might the future hold for the central bank and your wallet? Looks like folks on Wall Street aren't sure just yet. And later in the hour, it's the World Cup controversy that's got soccer fans across America crying foul after some say they've been snubbed by StubHub. Of course, ticket prices have been an ongoing issue at these events all over the country. We'll dig into that. Let's begin this hour with severe weather slamming millions of Americans from coast to coast.
The Southeast is bracing for potentially life-threatening flash floods as the remnants of a tropical storm roll along the Gulf Coast. At the same time, multiple tornadoes were caught on camera tearing across the Midwest, and that's all as wildfires rage on both coasts. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa starts us off from hard-hit Illinois. Maggie, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. The strength of these storms and these reported tornadoes overnight clearly on full display here. This was a car garage, and you can see it's completely destroyed. I mean, it looks like a bomb went off here. When all was said and done, more than half a dozen tornadoes reported across the region overnight with, as you point out, severe weather really wreaking havoc in almost every corner of the country. Overnight, stunning video of a string of monster tornadoes tearing across America's heartland.
We thought the house was caving in on us.
At least 7 twisters reported across Illinois, Wisconsin, even as far south as Alabama.
It'd be looking like it's on the ground.
All part of a sprawling severe weather system that flooded roads outside Chicago. This morning, a daunting cleanup underway with the roof ripped off this Illinois elementary school and massive trees toppled onto cars and homes, storms damaging buildings and downing power lines, knocking out power for thousands. Meanwhile, on both coasts, wildfires are raging. This doorbell camera video shows flames just feet from a house in eastern Washington where multiple homes have been destroyed and thousands of people have evacuated. More wildfires in Florida closing roads around Miami. A dangerous patchwork of severe weather from coast to coast refusing to let up. And back here in the Midwest, if this tornado season has seemed especially volatile, that's because it is. In fact, Illinois in particular has more tornado reports so far in 2026 than any other state in the country by far, close to 190, which is triple the average for this time of year, guys.
All right, Maggie Vespa, stay safe. Thanks so much.
More, let's get a check on your morning news now weather with meteorologist Aisha Scott from NBC Chicago.
Aisha, good morning.
Good morning, you guys. And you know what? That severe threat has now shifted eastward. And so it's New England that's under the gun right now for these severe storms. And the good news is it's a slight risk, so not quite as high as what the Midwest dealt with yesterday. But still, Boston, New York, even D.C. under that slight risk for severe storms. Wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. We could see hail right around 1 inch or larger. And an isolated tornado can't be ruled out either. So that storm system continues to push east with that cold front. You can see here we've got scattered showers and even a couple of rumbles of thunder across the northeast. There is a low risk for tornadoes, though, for New England, as I just mentioned. Notice here as we shift gears to the south, we're still watching the remnants of what was Arthur, and the remnants will bring some really heavy rain. We've got flash flood risks, even a high risk from southern Mississippi all the way to Pensacola. This is where we could see life-threatening flooding, so do heed the warnings if you do get them if you are across the deep south. Now, looking ahead, speaking of the deep south, we still have these tropical downpours that will continue to move inland. So Alabama, Georgia, parts of Atlanta as well will deal with this heavy rain. The severe flooding from New Orleans to east, that will move east to Pensacola. And then right along this front, we'll have scattered showers and storms from Texas to Florida as we get to tomorrow. Even that moderate flood risk from southern Alabama even to Mississippi. So speaking of rainfall forecast here, this takes us through Saturday. We've got heavy rain. Some locations could pick up as much as a foot of rain with some isolated spots, seeing as much as 20 inches of rainfall as we go through Saturday. The victory parade for the New York Knicks is today. You'll notice here we've got a partly sunny sky. It's warm, though. It's humid, too. Heat index right around 90 degrees with a couple of showers and even an isolated storm. Juneteenth, as we head into the weekend, looking pretty good for at least parts of our area. Still more rain down to the south. Back to you guys.
All right, Aisha, thank you so much. We have breaking news out of the White House this morning. The Trump administration has officially released the details of the 14-point memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the war with Iran. President Trump is celebrating it as what he's calling a historic victory, despite a wave of skepticism on Capitol Hill. NBC News chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with the details. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. The president is back here at the White House, arriving early this morning from his trip to Europe. But it took 3 days after the president first announced that a deal was reached before we finally are getting a first look at what one senior U.S. official calls a gentleman's agreement between the U.S. and Iran. The White House is promising this move will lead to lower gas prices and economic stability. But the deal has plenty of skeptics on both the left and right.
In the gilded halls of Versailles, President Trump marking the end of the G7 summit by signing a memorandum of understanding with Iran.
This was not easy, I can tell you.
Spending his last day in France, touting the agreement for an immediate and permanent termination of military operations in Iran. According to a senior U.S. official, the United States required to lift its naval blockade within 30 days and terminate all types of sanctions against Iran. In exchange, Iran must allow toll-free passage through the Strait of Hormuz for 60 days, which existed before the war.
We stopped nuclear holocaust.
On Iran's nuclear program, the president's main reason for starting the war, Iran agreed, as it has before, that it will not procure or develop nuclear weapons. But some uncertainty still on the key issue of the nuclear materials Iran already has. The countries say they'll reach an agreement in the future, and the U.S. says that Iran will eventually have to dilute its enriched uranium.
They can never have a nuclear weapon.
The agreement's most controversial provision, a $300 billion framework for the reconstruction of Iran and the return of over $100 billion in assets that were frozen by the U.S.
It's not our money, it's their money.
The administration says the reconstruction costs will not fall to U.S. taxpayers. While many Republicans back the president's plan, some voicing opposition.
Well, it's going to leave Iran stronger. It's going to leave our allies weaker.
Senator Ted Cruz, a Trump ally, saying in an interview that Trump is getting, quote, very poor advice, adding, quote, history teaches that giving billions of dollars to theocratic lunatics who want to murder us is a bad idea.
And while President Trump continues to maintain that this agreement will end any effort by Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, he conceded yesterday that it will not completely eliminate their military apparatus. The president saying it would be unfair for Iran not to have a ballistic missile arsenal while their neighbors in the Gulf do. Savannah?
All right, Ryan, thank you very much.
More on the impact this agreement will have here in the U.S., let's bring in John Kilduff. He's a founding member of Again Capital, which focuses on the global energy, capital, and commodity markets. John, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. So this memorandum of understanding stipulates the Strait of Hormuz will reopen. As we've said many times, 20% of the world's oil passed through this waterway before the start of the war. We know those oil prices surged when the conflict began. So should we expect prices to drop quickly now that we have this deal?
Good morning again. Yes, you should. We already see the national average for gasoline a tick below $4 a gallon this morning, according to AAA. Most of the war premium that came into the oil price has been removed. We got well over $100 a barrel for a brief time. We're already back down to $75 a barrel this morning in New York trading. Prices look poised to go even lower. I have to say, commodity market participants aren't usually the most optimistic or embracing of these types of developments that we're seeing, but we are giving full tribute to this memorandum of understanding and the ability of now shipping traffic to get back and forth through the Strait of Hormuz. This morning, there were several, or overnight, I should say, there were several Saudi oil cargoes that went through. That's about 6 million barrels of crude oil from Saudi Arabia now headed out to the open market. Just the beginning, we think, and with that, the market is pricing in that relief very rapidly.
So, John, you mentioned gas prices just a tick below $4, excuse me. That's still, though, not, what they were before this war started, not even close. How much lower do you expect them to go, and how quickly?
Well, coming into this year, we were looking at a glut situation developing, and gasoline prices were quite low, even below $3 a gallon. In many places, I know the president touts a dollar handle on some places in Iowa, I believe. But I believe that these prices should continue to cascade lower here, assuming everything holds, rapidly down towards $3.50 a gallon by mid-July, I would put it. And we could be flirting with the $3 a gallon mark by Labor Day. Again, if we see the kind of spurt in traffic in the Strait of Hormuz that we're already seeing. We got through this. This was an epic supply disruption, but we had a big move by China to step back from their purchases of global crude oil and rely on their inventories. Other countries did the same. I liken it to when you, in a cartoon or a movie, when a plane is in a dive mode and then they try to pull it up and the bottom of it scrapes, but they make it. That's kind of our situation here.
So from a global standpoint, are there concerns over the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz when it comes to the production there, but also just the transport, getting ships through there?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the word to use here for me is tenuous. Okay, because there are problems on its face, particularly as it relates to Lebanon, the Lebanon aspect of this deal. The Strait of Hormuz is now going to be front and center as a lever point for Iran. We all know that. But again, the Iranians got hit pretty hard in this event, and we think for now they need to pull back and lick their wounds. But don't be, we can't be fooled. We know that they will use the strait as leverage going forward, which is why there is going to be still a sort of war premium or an insecurity premium about the strait in prices for some time. We've gotten a lot of the gains out of the market, but it's going to be a real test to see how much prices in the short term here for WTI, for U.S. oil prices, how much can they go below $70 a barrel? That's going to be the real question mark. I think we'll test it for a bit. But again, any kind of rhetoric or moves by Iran regarding the strait and regarding this deal will upset this apple cart again, and we will go right back higher.
John Kilduff, good to tap into your expertise. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, the Federal Reserve, now under new leadership of Chair Kevin Warsh, is keeping interest rates steady, even with inflation hitting highs not seen in years.
Warsh is President Trump's handpicked successor to the former chair, Jerome Powell, whose relationship with the president became strained under White House pressure to try and lower those rates.
We've got NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung here in our news studio, fresh off his trip yesterday.
Here, by the way,
right? Amazing. Isn't it fun? Fresh off his trip to the Federal Reserve. You were in this meeting yesterday. Brian, good morning. So let's just start on what this means for people at home, the fact that those interest rates stayed steady, knowing the other details of the economic backdrop right now.
Yeah, and I should point out that this is exactly what we expected. We expected the Fed to not do anything, but of course, all the attention was on the new leadership. Kevin Warsh, newly minted as the Fed chair, taking the podium for the first time and hosting that press conference. But again, we were really interested to see exactly how this new Fed chair was going to change the way that this Fed operates. And we were trying to see whether or not he would offer any tea leaves into what the Fed's next moves might be, because they didn't do anything yesterday. But basically what we got was a big nothing burger. The big, the big talking point that this new Fed chair said was that he has these task forces that are going to come out to review how the Fed does communications, how they offer what they call forward guidance, which is just the layperson's term for offering any sort of tip into what the Fed might do later on down the year. So he was basically saying, we don't want to tell you guys, like the previous Fed chair did, exactly what our next moves are going to be. So that means that there's a little bit more, uncertainty over how the borrowing costs are going to go down the line because of this new Fed chair regime.
You had a chance to ask Warsh a question. What was on your mind?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, he answered every question with, we're going to have a task force for that. So I just blatantly asked him, well, what does that mean for the average American consumer? Take a listen.
For the person that maybe you might run into at the grocery store, where the price tags are rising at a faster pace than their wages at the moment, how would you explain it to them? I don't know if task force might be the answer there, but how would you kind of communicate this era, this chapter of the Fed?
If I told somebody in the milk aisle that I had a task force for that, I think that would be doing a very poor job. We cannot have a very significant effect on particular prices. The price of oil in the markets today, or even the price of a dozen eggs.
But you heard just now from the Fed chair that he seems to acknowledge that oil prices are high, that egg prices are they're lower than they were a year ago, but that food prices broadly have been rising. And now basically you have this Fed chair that's saying, yes, look, I'm the new guy in charge. I'm going to try to reform the way that we communicate. We might not offer that forward guidance, tips into what we do going forward. But again, this is at a moment where inflation's at 4.2%. It's the highest in 3 years. And you also have a Fed that usually when inflation rises has to do what? Raise interest rates, not cut them. That's also going to likely land him in the ire of the president, who has wanted, obviously, lower rates.
What was the president's reaction to his debut?
He had 4 words. He was traveling through France, and he responded to a question about the Fed's moves by saying, it's all right, whatever. That's what he said. And again,
which is stunning, honestly.
It is stunning. He didn't have more words for that. But, I think we have to acknowledge that, yes, there is the talking point that the president wants lower interest rates. He got his Fed guy in charge. But at the swearing-in ceremony, the president said, I want you to be independent. I don't want you to listen to me. But again, does he follow through on that? That's an open question. But again, this is just the beginning of this 4-year tenure for Kevin Warsh. And we'll see whether or not he gets stuck between the hard place of the economy that might need higher interest rates and the rock of the president that wants lower
I think
rates.
it's actually 3 words, right? It's
all right. Could be 2 separate
right.
words or all right.
Depends.
Depends on how. Yeah, it depends on how you format that, I guess.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
We're learning more about that private plane crash on a Texas highway and the dramatic rescue efforts from bystanders and first responders. Their efforts made the difference between life and death for several passengers on board. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello covers aviation for us. Joins us with the details. Tom, just a very high-profile Texas CEO was killed in this crash, right?
Yeah, that's right. Josh Baer. He was legendary in Texas and across high-tech industries because he founded a venture capital firm to get these projects off the ground, to fund them. This morning, the highway has reopened in Laredo as investigators look at whether this plane ran out of fuel or lost fuel as it was flying across Mexico.
Oh my God. The big question for investigators this morning, why did a modern business jet suddenly crash onto a busy highway in Laredo, Texas? They're trying to get people out. There's people in there. Drivers who witnessed the accident used crowbars and hammers to break the cockpit glass and pull the 2 pilots out. 3 teenagers managed to get out on their own.
Be advised, we have 1 patient. He wrecked into the plane wing.
50-year-old Josh Baer died. The wealthy founder and CEO of an Austin-based high-tech venture capital firm. The company in a statement writing, for more than 2 decades, Baer was a visionary force, mentor, and champion for the Texas technology and startup ecosystem. The Cessna Citation business jet departed San Jose del Cabo, Mexico for Austin, climbing to 43,000 feet before reporting they were low on fuel, diverting to Laredo. Flight Radar 24 data shows the plane rapidly descending at 3,000 feet per minute before slowing its descent to line up for a landing. But then it drifted off course, crashing 2 miles south of the airport. Investigators will look at why the pilots reported being low on fuel.
They're going to determine if there was any possibility that fuel could have leaked out of the wings, maybe through a fuel cap that wasn't properly secured or some sort of small hole that punctured the wing.
The jet was owned and operated by NetJets, the world's largest private jet fleet operator, and this is their first fatal crash in 40 years. The company writing in a statement, "Safety is and always has been the foundation of everything we do. We will cooperate fully with the NTSB's investigation."
While the loss of life is deeply regrettable, it is nothing short of a miracle that this tragedy did not become a mass fatality event.
Yeah. It really is amazing there wasn't more collateral damage.
Yeah, that's right. So 5 people, of course, survived. 1 person died, as we mentioned, Josh Baer. And then, by the way, that's 5 people on the plane and then all the people on the ground who survived. The police, the mayor, the fire department, all crediting the people on the road who ran to help the police officers pulling pilots out of the cockpit, crediting them all for being heroes. Joe.
No kidding. All right. Tom Costello, thank you so much.
Well, today marks a new chapter for a past president. Former President Barack Obama is preparing for the grand opening of his new Obama Presidential Center. The structure stands tall over Chicago's South Side, his adopted hometown. The center not only offers a glimpse into his past, it also provides space for future generations in the community to grow. NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs correspondent Kelly O'Donnell is in Chicago for this big inaugural weekend. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning. It is a windy, breezy, chilly morning here. We are in the shadow of the museum that you just saw in those images. It is a big day for the Obama Presidential Center. There's a sound check going on for the many entertainers who will be a part of the festivities today. This, of course, comes after the Obamas left the White House nearly 10 years ago.
Today, a new landmark in the legacy of former President Barack Obama, a 19-acre campus on Chicago's South Side.
Hello, Chicago.
Mrs. Obama wearing an image of her late mother.
Thank you for doing this for the South Side of Chicago.
The center is not considered a presidential library, but instead is a privately funded complex that cost $850 million. NBC's parent company, Comcast, among the donors. Visitors will be greeted by a new portrait of the Obamas.
And we just got to soak it in.
It's us.
A replica of his Oval Office. A display that captures Mrs. Obama's sense of fashion. Interactive experiences, a basketball court, community garden, and a public library.
The goal for me has been to create something that's a living monument, not to me, but to this idea of American citizenship.
Among the notable exhibits, an original copy of the Declaration of Independence and broader history about slavery and voting rights, and his own piece of history, becoming the first African American to take the oath of office.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Today, the other formers, Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Biden, will attend. However, President Trump, fresh off the G7 summit, was not invited.
We have said that if President Trump would like to come and take a tour, we'd love to show him this campus.
Building the center did face setbacks and criticism over its design and size. Today, peering through the words Mr. Obama delivered in Selma, Alabama, the Sky Room provides a sweeping view of the city.
The people here taught me resilience and courage and hope.
The intention, the Obamas say, is to have this be a part of the community here on the south side of Chicago. That's why there's an active public library here. That's why there's sporting a center where basketball can bring young people together. To make it not just a museum about their time in office, but something that can be an active part of the community. When I mentioned the sound check, some of the artists who will be performing today: Bruce Springsteen, Bono, Jennifer Hudson, John Legend, Stevie Wonder. There's nearly a dozen 7 acts that will be in some way a part of the ceremony as it gets underway. It will tomorrow become open to the public. And when we mention that it's not a presidential library, that's because the collection of the former president's papers and the documents associated with his time in office are kept digitally by the federal government at a separate facility in Maryland. This is the Obama Center, which celebrates his time in office and wants to be a part of broader citizenship. Savannah?
All right, Kelly battling the wind for us and a sound check going on. We appreciate it. Thank you. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the World Cup fans who say they were snubbed by StubHub. Their tickets all paid for, but when game time came, the only thing scored was a refund.
First, though, after the break, New Yorkers gearing up for a victory parade fit for a nick. How the city is preparing for a celebration like no other. Next. We're back now with a look ahead to a celebration for the ages about to unfold in Lower Manhattan this morning.
The New York Knicks are fresh off their first championship in 53 years, and today they are being honored by the city with massive crowds expected to show just how much they love their team. Mayor Zohran Mamdani says it could be the largest parade in New York City history, and that is why the city is taking extraordinary measures to keep everyone safe.
NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has somehow found his way to Battery Park with details on this big ticker tape parade. Sam, good morning. Millions are expected. How's it looking out there?
Joe, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, millions, right? So the population of New York City is like 8.5 million people. What do we think? About a quarter of them are going to be in Lower Manhattan today, where we are. Take a look at the crowd right now. We're right off of Battery Place, so this is the edge of Battery Park. The parade route is going to go right down the street from where we are and head to Broadway, which is a couple of blocks over. There were just charter buses that came down the street. Everybody's going nuts. They have no idea who's in the buses. It doesn't matter. It's in the atmosphere, guys. Talking to some of the kids over here, clearly they're not in school today. I have a feeling that's not an anomaly. Now, the couple over here got here at about 5 or 6 o'clock this morning. As we move along, one of my friends here got here at 1 a.m., another person at 4 a.m., basically just camped out. People were offering $1,000 to sit in line from midnight to 8 a.m. to hold your spot. That gives you a sense or a flavor of just how much excitement there is in the air right now. Those parade floats are going to come from this side down Battery Place. The route itself is going to go from Battery Park to City Hall. It's only about 3/4 of a mile straight down Broadway, what they call the Canyon of Heroes here in Lower Manhattan. That signifies, guys, those granite plaques that note every ticker tape parade that has happened in Lower Manhattan for decades. It's a really cool note to history. And we just had the drought as well. The Knicks busted this 53-year championship drought. The Jets now hold the longest one, 57 years with no championship. The Nets are at 50. The Islanders are at 43. The Mets, my beloved Mets, are about to be at 40 years this year. Long story short, they have not seen a championship in a long time for a lot of the major sports franchises, which explains why you have Mania here, and it's all getting down at about 10 o'clock Eastern, so a couple of hours from now. Back to you guys.
That was like really kind of a depressing graphic.
Wait,
like,
thank goodness for the Yankees and the Knicks.
Where do we win? Okay, yeah, for real. All right, Sam, tell us, though, about the security here along the route. We can see a bit of it behind you, but we know that's a big emphasis today.
Yes. Pardon the screams here. So you have barricades all up and down the route. That should be no surprise. You see the NYPD officers, Joe and Savannah. The largest deployment, Commissioner Tisch said, that they have ever had in the history of this city. In terms of all the parades, all the events, 10,000 people. There's no credible evidence of any sort of threat. However, it is very evident based on just some of the raucous behavior that we've seen the last couple of weeks. You know, on the night the Knicks clinched the championship, there were 60+ arrests, a lot of physical confrontations. They're taking no chances. So this is all on tight lockdown. If you were to go a couple of blocks, you just see how deep the sea of fans is here. It's 2 to 3 times that when you get to Broadway. But that's all very contained. There's barricades there, and then to get into the actual ceremony itself, which starts at noon, you need a ticket. There was only 600 of them. There was a lottery for those tickets, so 300 people plus a plus one. That's not Jalen Brunson, by the way. That's just a guy that's wearing a Brunson jersey, in case you were wondering. 600 fans will get into the actual seats themselves, and then Mamdani is going to be giving the keys to the city to the Knicks players. It's going to be an awesome sight to see. We won't get to see it, but for those that are lucky enough to witness this in person, it's going to be awesome, guys.
For those who aren't from New York does have a parade every other day. So we do know how to do a parade and the security and everything that goes with it. So Sam Brock, have fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, well, while the Knicks and New York celebrate, we are into the second week of the World Cup, and it continues to deliver plenty of surprises. Yesterday, Cristiano Ronaldo and Team Portugal, who started as a top contender to win the whole tournament, were held to a draw by the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Away from the soccer, though, there's more controversy over tickets, with some fans now speaking out about resale sites telling NBC News they bought precious tickets on StubHub, but they never got them. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal is here to explain what is happening. Allie, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. And yeah, that's right. I mean, for many of these fans, this is more than just a ticket, right? It's flights, it's hotels, it's time off of work, and in some cases, a trip that they've been planning for many years. And for one family, what was supposed to be this dream World Cup experience turned into a last-minute disappointment, and they're not the only ones. Take a look.
Maryland mom of 4, Heather Durgan, knew just the right Christmas surprise for her soccer-loving kids.
World Cup doesn't come to the U.S. every couple of years.
So she bought 4 tickets to a match in New Jersey through the third-party resale platform StubHub. She tells NBC affiliate WBAL it cost her $2,200, and she was told she'd get the tickets before kickoff. Her kids couldn't wait.
They were elated. They were ecstatic.
But then, 3 days before the match,
we got an email from StubHub saying that our seller could not deliver our tickets to us.
She says StubHub offered her a refund, but said no replacement tickets were available on such short notice. She's not the only one.
No explanation, no offering me other tickets or any kind of remedy.
Stories just like Durgan's have been flooding social media in the first week of the World Cup.
At 9 a.m., no ticket. And we just got a call from StubHub saying that our tickets are being refunded.
Fans saying they paid thousands of dollars on resale platforms like StubHub for tickets that never came.
We're on the chat with StubHub right now.
Rosina Taguchi told the Dallas Observer her family spent $1,500 on tickets to see Japan play in Dallas. But on game day, the seller failed to deliver them.
StubHub has some explaining to do.
The challenge is that third-party resale tickets often aren't delivered until 24 to 48 hours before an event. Sometimes the sellers don't even have the tickets themselves before that. It leaves some buyers in limbo until the final hours before a match. And even if a refund is issued, it doesn't cover the cost of travel or missed memories.
Now, I've taken time off of work, I've booked a plane ticket, I've booked a hotel, and now you threw our entire trip off?
I'm pretty bummed out.
StubHub telling NBC News that if a seller doesn't deliver the tickets, it will try to find replacements or give fans their money back. The company added it takes its responsibility seriously and that when sellers fail to deliver tickets, StubHub investigates and takes action. But it's also pointed the finger at FIFA's ticket transfer restrictions. FIFA has repeatedly warned fans against purchasing tickets through third-party platforms, instead directing fans to its official resale marketplace. As for Heather Durgan, a happy ending. After our Baltimore affiliate reached out to StubHub, she was offered replacement tickets. They made it to the match, but Durgan still wants to caution others about the risks.
I don't want to see this happen to other people.
A yellow card warning, with weeks of matches still to come.
Now, hopefully, these are just a few isolated incidences and we don't continue to see this throughout the tournament. But guys, if you're a fan and this happens to you, there's a few things you can do. Immediately contact those third-party resellers, StubHub, Ticketmaster, wherever you got that ticket, to see if they could get you those replacement tickets. If not, try to seek that refund. But FIFA, very clear, stick to that official resale marketplace. That's the safest bet when it comes to buying and selling tickets here. But a lot on the line, quite literally, for these fans that are going to these games.
Fans are trying to do whatever they can to go because it's hard to get those tickets.
And they're expensive. They're pricey.
They are. Allie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up, we may be on the other side of flu season, but it's never too early to talk about prevention.
After the break, a shot of hope over at the FDA as it considers a green light for a groundbreaking new vaccine that's taking a cue from the days of COVID. We'll explain next.
Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with how FBI Director Kash Patel's social media posts are going down with law enforcement officials.
NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach joins us now with more. Hey, Gary, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Here's what's happening in politics now. FBI Director Kash Patel is under fire from within the Trump administration after a potentially premature social media post about the foiled plot to attack that UFC fight at the White House last weekend. Several law enforcement sources tell NBC News they were surprised to see Patel's self-congratulatory post because officials were still working to take suspects into custody when he issued a statement about the plot in the early morning hours on Tuesday. So far, 5 men have been arrested, but nearly 24 people were reportedly involved in the planning of the thwarted attack. And meet the new boss, same as the old boss. That may be what members of the intelligence community are thinking this morning after President Trump put an end to his own effort to confirm Jay Clayton to the role of Director of National Intelligence, instead allowing Bill Pulte to serve as acting DNI. Just last week, Trump nominated Clayton, who is currently serving as a U.S. attorney in New York, after bipartisan backlash over his initial nomination of Housing Chief Bill Pulte, who has no experience in the field of intelligence. Pulte is expected to take the reins as acting DNI on Friday. And here in D.C., Democratic Socialist Janice Lewis-George has a lead over Kenny McDuffie in the Democratic primary for mayor of D.C., with NBC News characterizing the race as too close to call. In New York City, Los Angeles, and Seattle, Democratic Socialists have run successful campaigns, promising things like free bus rides and rent stabilization. If George wins in D.C., that will set up what is likely to become a years-long showdown between her and President Trump over control of the nation's capital. That's what's happening in politics now. Back to you guys.
All right, Gary, thank you very much. Well, the FDA is considering approval of what could become the first ever mRNA flu vaccine on the market. Supporters say it could provide broader, longer-lasting protection against that ever-changing virus.
New research also suggests the shot may produce a stronger immune response than today's standard flu vaccines.
We've got our friend NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar here in studio with us. Hi, doctor. Great to see you. We probably remember mRNA from the COVID days, but explain what makes that technology different than the flu shots that we're already getting every year.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, we want our bodies to mount an immune response to the flu virus so that when we are exposed to flu virus, we're going to be able to inactivate it, right? That's the whole goal. So basically, the mechanism of action of these two vaccines are just fundamentally different. With the mRNA vaccine, you're basically giving your body a synthetic genetic code so that your body makes part of the protein of the virus, and your immune system will be triggered to make an antibody so that when it becomes exposed to that virus, it's going to recognize it. In contrast, the traditional egg-based vaccine, you basically have a weakened or inactivated virus that's grown in chicken eggs, and that is what is given to you, and your body sees that, and it also creates an antibody towards it. The idea here is with the mRNA vaccine, as opposed to the traditional vaccine, because of speed, because of strain mismatch and effectiveness, that we're going to get more yield out of the mRNA vaccines.
You touch on that. We know the flu virus is always changing. Yes. Could this do a better job at keeping up?
100%. And this is, I think part of what we've been talking about for years about why is the flu vaccine efficacy so low? Well, there's a number of reasons. One is that while that incubation period is happening, the virus can actually mutate. So by the time it gets to market, we already have a vaccine that's not really a good match. And also we know that the virus, as it's circulating, also can mutate. So for those reasons, we've come up against this wall in terms of efficacy. It takes about 16 to 20 weeks to make a traditional flu vaccine. And remember, we choose those strains in the spring prior to flu season, as opposed to the mRNA vaccine. It's much more nimble. You can pivot very quickly, and within 6 to 8 weeks, you can create a new vaccine that's a better match for the circulating strain.
So how similar is this to the COVID vaccine, since that's what a lot of people associate that mRNA with?
Mechanistically, it's exactly the same. We did the same thing. The thing that got, gave people pause at first was like, are you giving yourself something that is COVID that's going to make you sick? And the answer is absolutely not. What you're giving yourself, your body is given a little code, a little message to make a part of the protein of the virus that your body can then mount an immune response to. It has nothing to do with the actual whole virus that could make you sick.
So if this does get the green light, how quickly could we see it? And would this be for everyone, or is there a specific group who would get it first?
So what they are applying for approval for is the shot for anyone from the age of 50 to 64. And what they've asked for is what's called accelerated accelerated approval for 65 and older. And the reason that that is the case is that the clinical trial, one of the biggest sticking points that the FDA had in the beginning is that older individuals as the comparator group were not given the high dose flu vaccine that we normally recommend. So there was some question about whether the mRNA vaccine actually works in that older group. I think it's going to get approved, actually, with the way the FDA has responded in the last couple of weeks. And Joe and Savannah, the expectation is that it's going to be ready for this year's flu season. And the biggest question is, what is your doctor going to recommend? I'm asking that actually out into the universe because I'm going to be faced with the same situation. Doc, should I get the traditional flu vaccine? Should I get the mRNA vaccine? Look, efficacy-wise, it does appear to mount to, I should say, confer a little bit more protection against the flu. That is great. It's also associated with a few more side effects. That was a little... Did you see that? The flu, more side effects? And namely, injection site reactions, some headaches, some muscle aches, nothing serious. But those vaccine reactions that people don't love, it's a little bit more with the mRNA vaccine. But still.
Pros and cons to both.
Pros and cons to both. I think time will tell. I don't think I'm going to have a problem based on the data to make a recommendation for it.
All right. Dr. Azar, thank you. We've got more morning news now right after this.
Stay with us.
Welcome back. As artificial intelligence continues to become part of our everyday lives, more and more students are opting to study it in college. According to Northeastern University, at least 74 AI majors are available on campuses across the U.S., with even more schools looking to introduce programs this year. So what can the rest of us learn from what students are learning? Here to break it all down is Dr. Reed Simmons. He's the director of the undergraduate AI program at Carnegie Mellon University. Dr. Simmons, good morning. I think this is so smart as we continue to wonder how does AI play into the jobs that these college students are going to try to go get as soon as they embark on their postgraduate lives. So why not teach them this now? First, let's just start with the skills that they're learning in these new programs.
Thank you for having me. That's great to address. Fundamentally, our AI degree is a specialization of computer science. Students learn the cores of computer science, but in addition, they learn artificial intelligence foundations, machine learning, and then more soft skills like human-AI interaction and ethics. So it's a very multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary program.
What's the difference, like, for somebody who might not have that much understanding at this point of AI? Maybe they're not using it every day. Why would these programs be different than any type of tech-related degree, like a computer science degree?
Well, as I said, there is specialization subjects that aren't typically covered in a typical computer science degree, such as how to have technology relate to humans. What are the ethical implications of having something like an advanced AI system out there interacting with people? One of the things that's very important is that we are looking at making sure that people understand, our students understand, that the AI is going to be assisting people, helping them in their jobs, not at all replacing them. And so they need to understand how to make that interaction as smooth and as natural as possible.
So for students who are studying this, if they're getting this type of degree, is your estimation that they are able to go out in the world and take on any job that they may want right now, but maybe it's the shape of it has really changed given what AI can do and they're a better candidate for that? Or are you seeing them going into like strictly AI, like developing AI systems at a company?
Very much both. We are trying to train the students at our degree program to be able to go out and create the next generation of AI systems. But a lot of our graduates are ending up in places like healthcare, autonomous driving companies, financial companies, in which they're applying the foundational knowledge that they've learned in these other domains to help them do their jobs better.
Do you see an AI degree being a key to future job security in the midst of a lot of insecurity and uncertainty?
What I see is that just like almost any technology, AI is going to help take over the more mundane jobs that people do and free people up for doing what humans do best, creativity, design, analysis. And I think that's going to be a boon for all people who are working in tech-type jobs.
Dr. Simmons, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. Fascinating conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Just over a week away from the NYC Pride March, which is one of the biggest LGBTQ plus demonstrations in the world. Now, this year's parade might look a little different, a reflection of something happening across the country. Many Pride organizations are facing budget constraints, forcing them to scale back their events. It's because last year, a number of big corporate sponsors started reducing their involvement in Pride events after President Trump signed that executive order that looks to eliminate DEI programs. Some corporate sponsors are opting out of Pride Month completely. That's leaving the groups that plan these events scrambling to find new sources of money. More on this, I'm joined now by Ryan Boss. He's the CEO and president of Capital Pride Alliance, which puts on events in Washington. That includes a big parade coming up this weekend. Ryan, good morning. Good to see you here. It's well documented now after the last year and a half, corporations are pulling back on these DEI programs. But realistically, what does that mean for organizations like yours? What changes?
I mean, it changes a lot. You mentioned it in your pre-piece, the need for us to get more creative, identify other ways to generate revenue. It's an unfortunate challenge at a time when our community is in need to have places support us and to provide the resources to provide safe spaces for our community to gather and have human dignity.
What is it you're actually hearing from companies about why they're cutting back on donations? Do you wish they'd take a stronger stance and not back away, or do you understand why they're making these decisions?
A variety of different reasons. Last year, we hosted World Pride here in Washington, and right after the inauguration, a lot of the orders that were coming out, which made a lot of things very confusing. And so we can still hear some of those reflections today. Many corporations not knowing how to navigate the new DEI rollback in policies. Many corporations do provide contracts for the federal government, how that impacts their ability to support their employees. At the same time, many corporations are trying to be creative themselves to figure out how they can still support the mission and the purpose of what Pride represents, which is ultimately that all of us, regardless of how we identify, should have the right to have pride in ourselves and have the respect of our community. So I'm hopeful because there are corporations out there navigating this in a way to hold true to the ideals of what DEI represents. At the same time, the financial resources are making it very challenging, not just for Pride, but for many of our LGBTQ plus service organizations.
Talk about why Pride festivals and celebrations like the one you're putting on right now are so important. I can imagine maybe someone listening right now thinking, oh, it's a huge party. It's not that big a deal if you have a smaller party. How do you explain to people why this matters?
It's all those things. Pride is a protest, protest and celebration, protest in messaging, protest in showing up and being visible. We are being told by so many of the policies coming out of this federal government that we should not exist. And what does that do to a human psyche, to our youth? It creates isolation. It creates fear. Our trans community is living in fear every day. And Pride is an opportunity for us to create a variety of different types of events, not just parades, festivals, but meetings and gatherings and social events where folks can show up how they feel most comfortable and safe to be who they are and to realize they're not alone and they are part of a community.
Let's talk about what the future might look like. And if federal policies about DEI programs do change in the future, do you think the corporate money will come back? Do you want them to come back?
I do. Our community has fought for years for the corporate community companies to step up. Their engagement really was drummed up from our LGBTQ employee resource groups working within these businesses to say, we deserve equal rights, we deserve benefits. And many of these corporations provided safety nets well before the federal government. So yes, I want, and I think we want these corporations to do what is right. And as we can navigate through this tough time, that we'll find that balance so that we can ensure that human rights and love always prevails.
Ryan Boss, happy Pride. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy Pride yourself.
Coming up, top news for your wallet that might make you want to think twice before hitting that subscribe button one more time.
When we come back, we're going to dig into some eye-opening new data on just how much Americans are spending on those subscription services. How much do you think? $300? $400? You might want to sit down for this next one. Stay with us.
You're back with a look at the rising costs of our favorite subscriptions.
So a new survey out this morning finds Americans are spending a whopping $1,300 each year on those monthly services. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda joins us with what you need to know to save some money. Emily, good morning.
Hey there, think about everything that's available through a monthly subscription these days. Your entertainment, your beauty routines, and now all those AI tools. While these services may offer convenience, new numbers reveal they're also getting a lot more expensive.
Being an adult in 2026 is just having a pro membership to your life.
It's become the inescapable normal.
Can we go back to the day of where everything was not a freaking subscription? Please!
An offer to subscribe to nearly everything in our lives. Forget just movies and music. These days, it's your dinner.
HelloFresh makes eating well exciting.
Your dog's dinner.
Our fresh food plans keep dogs moving.
Even flowers.
Fresh flower subscriptions. They exist. They're a thing.
But this morning, a new survey finds the cost of convenience is going up.
I saw I was paying over $2,500 on subscriptions.
According to CNET, Americans spend an average of $111 each month on subscriptions. That's more than $1,300 annually and up 23% from last year.
Subscription prices overall seem to be on the uptick. But number two, when we start coupling just music subscriptions, retail memberships, streaming subscriptions, all of those things, that can really add up to a pretty big number.
Experts say another secret of subscription success, Americans are spending big bucks on services we simply forget to cancel.
Part of the name of the game could be that we are really just setting and forgetting those subscriptions. And before you look back at it, you've spent a lot of money.
Just how much money? CNET found that adults throw away $252 each year on subscriptions they don't even use. Scammers are also taking advantage, with the FTC filing a new lawsuit against a tech group it says operated subscription schemes for multiple apps, billed consumers without authorization, and made it difficult to cancel, all part of growing frustration.
Do y'all ever think about how everything in our world is literally a subscription to something? I'm literally so sick of it.
Need help keeping track of your services? Look at your app store for past purchases. Check your credit card statements for both monthly and annual charges. And for subscriptions you do want to keep,
seeing what's available in terms of bundles. Another one that you might want to consider is rotating your subscriptions. The final thing, thinking about a skinny package, which may mean that you have fewer channels, or you might even consider a package that has ads as another option to maybe pay a little bit less.
Not surprisingly, the most popular subscriptions continue to be streaming services, retail platforms like Costco or Prime, and music. After that, CNET says cloud storage, fitness programs, and these days, AI subscription services continue to grow with things like paid versions of ChatGPT and other AI tools. Back to you.
All right, Emily, thank you. You don't need a subscription to watch the New York Knicks parade today. Already
you just had to get there overnight.
Millions exactly have gathered to check it out and get ready for that. Looks like fun.
Live pictures down in Manhattan. Cool.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.